Sexy bitches, welcome back to the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. We're talking today about AEW Dynamite from May the 11th, 2022 in MJF's home state of New Jersey, so you know we were going to get something special on this night. We also had tournament matches for both men and women in the Owen Hart Memorial Tournament. We got to see Danhausen's debut and a bunch of other stuff. But before we get into any of that, I want to remind you guys that there's a lot of free goodies down in the description box below. You know, even though the financial world is kind of in turmoil right now, a lot of people also see this as an opportunity to what they call buy the dip. You can find out more about that on my Wrestling with Finance channel by clicking on the link above. But if you want to get into that and you want to get some free stocks or some free crypto to start out with, you can use some of the links down below. Coinbase, Vault for your crypto. You can also buy crypto on Robinhood and Webull, as well as buying stocks there. And you also get lots of free stocks when you sign up for Webull or Robinhood using the affiliate link down below. So get the free money while you can. Even if you decide to keep the stocks or just sell them, might as well give it a shot. Again, like I said, it's basically free money. So check out those links. And now let's talk about AEW Dynamite from this week. I have to say, overall, from start to finish, this was a tremendously exciting episode of AEW Dynamite. I will also say that I did miss a little bit of it, that I had to go back and watch the DVR because there was a giant murder hornet that decided to invade my living room while I was watching AEW Dynamite. God, I love the beginning of spring. So after I disposed of that, I did get to see the rest of the show and had to go back and watch the middle part. The middle parts that I missed, we'll also include in the show. But the show started out with, what I did see at the beginning, was Dax Harwood taking on Adam Cole Bay. This is an Owen Hart Memorial Tournament match, and it's an interesting dynamic that they talked about leading into this match, that Dax is more along the lines with Bret Hart, and he's alluded to the kind of people that Adam Cole looks up to. Now, AEW kind of pointed towards the Young Bucks and that group, but what we all kind of know what he's really referring to is that Adam Cole has a pretty good relationship with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, who are people that, let's just say, have a sordid history with Bret the Hitman Hart. So it was a clashing of these two styles, but Adam Cole was a lot tougher in this match. I thought he'd be taking a lot more of the bumps and against the much tougher Dax Harwood, but Harwood was selling a internal injury, a rib injury, through most of the match that they played off really well, and the submission victory at the end was, man, rubbing salt into the wounds. But Adam Cole Bay continues on in the Owen Hart Tournament. CM Punk takes on Johnny Hungy, John Silver of the Dark Order, or if the Dark Order is still a thing. But he is still listed as a friend of Adam Page, the AEW champion, who was on commentary during this match. This was a far more entertaining match than I thought it was going to be. I like the combination of CM Punk and John Silver. We might want to see a much longer match in the future between these two if they can build John Silver up to being a bigger star. I think there is a real good potential for them to have a legitimate, maybe Battle of the Belts match, maybe a pay-per-view match at some point in the future. That's, again, depending on how big a star Johnny Hungy becomes. But man, the performance was pretty good. But the this was the night of salt in the wounds, apparently, on AEW Dynamite. CM Punk uses Hangman Page's own buckshot lariat finisher to pin John Silver, which completely ticked off the Hangman, who came storming to the ring. They went nose to nose, face to face, but Punk, being the much better talker, really kind of punked out Adam Page and said, hey, you know, that's just an example. That's just a blueprint of what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to be the AEW champion. Hangman didn't have a response, but, well, he did have a response. He had the one finger salute response for CM Punk when he asked to shake his hand. So apparently the shaking your hand thing is going to be the storyline when we get to the match. That's going to be a little story beat that we're going to see whether or not CM Punk is going to get Hangman Page to shake his hand at the end of that match. The debut of Danhausen, who gets a full entrance against Tony Nece, who didn't get an entrance at all. And I didn't know what to expect from this. I don't know much about Danhausen. Again, I am not a huge Danhausen fan. It still hasn't won me over yet. I know a lot of other people like it, but, you know, other people can like things that I don't like, and it's perfectly fine. Wrestling people. So I was actually intrigued to see what Danhausen could do, and I'm still going to have to wait to find that out because Smart Mark Sterling, the manager, distracted Danhausen as he was in the middle of putting his curse on Tony Nece, which Nece completely took advantage, as he should have. basically blindsided and wiped that Danhausen in a matter of seconds, got the pin, and that was it in a squash match. Smart Mark does note that Danhausen got an entrance and Tony Nece did it, and he said, Tony, how does that make you feel? So Tony went to go continue to beat the crap out of Danhausen, which of course brought out the guy that everybody really wanted to see here, Hook. And Hook comes to the ring, Smart Mark, Sterling, and Tony Nece want nothing to do with him, but we did finally get the handshake. This is all about handshakes and salt in the wounds here on AEW Dynamite. Hook and Danhausen finally shaking hands, so it looks like Hookhausen is going to be a thing. MJF, once again proving he is one of the most valuable people, and as he mentioned in the promo, 2024 is coming, and he keeps a little needling of Tony Khan. I wonder if that's, how much of that is kayfabe and how much of that is shoot, because he plays it off like it's a shoot, but I don't know if, Tony Khan isn't Vince McMahon. He's not going to, ban you off TV, and maybe MJF knows Tony Khan's not going to take him off TV, so he can pretty much do whatever he wants. That's a dangerous thing to have happen there. I think if you're Tony Khan, you probably want to get that contract signed sooner than later. But that aside, the worth of MJF really came across in the fact that he got Chris Jericho to narrate, as he does, the Dark Side of the Ring, which has been canceled, as I've heard recently. But they did a full-on, with graphics and everything, mini Dark Side of the Ring chronicling CM Punk and MJF's dog collar match that Wardlow, well, according to MJF, Wardlow lost for him. At one point, Jericho's reading it and he's like, wait a minute, is this for MJF? I'm not reading this for that jackass after all we went through. How much is he paying for this? Oh, okay, cool. And Jericho continues the narration that clearly MJF wrote that is so lopsided. It's just hysterical. And all of this is leading to a contract signing with Wardlow in the ring. MJF comes out, like I said, it's his hometown. He comes out to tremendous cheers. He's got the crowd in the palm of his hands. And he is not only shown in this instance that he's, of course, one of the best heels in the business, but if this guy ever goes face, he's going to be one of the biggest faces in the business. The kid is worth a lot of money. Tony Khan, you better bring out that checkbook, because Vince McMahon and Nick Khan are going to pull out all the stops to get this kid. At one point, MJF even asked the crowd, hey, do you want Wardlow to speak? They said no. So he's like, fine, he won't speak then. And Wardlow didn't speak. MJF basically laid out all the terms of this contract, and what it's going to be is a steel cage match coming up between Shawn Spears and Wardlow, and the special guest referee will be MJF himself. And MJF says if Wardlow can get past that, Wardlow will get his match against MJF. We all expect, of course, that to happen, probably coming up at Double or Nothing, but AEW can throw us a swerve. The other side of it, too, is if Wardlow doesn't win, he can no longer wrestle in AEW. So that pretty much tells you Wardlow's going to win, but we're going to see where they go with this. Sometimes they do these things, and then the guy loses, and then you're like, oh, well, that's a twist. Now, how is he going to get back into the company? But I don't know if they're going to go that far. There's not that much time between now and Double or Nothing for them to do something like that I would think, but you never know. AEW does throw you curveballs at times. Toni Storm and Jamie Hayter had an Owen Hart Tournament match, which I thought was way better than the crowd was giving it credit for. There's this kind of perception that the women matches that don't have Britt Baker in them are pretty boring, but this was not the case. Toni Storm is a great hand, and so is Jamie Hayter, and they showed their craft here. I really enjoyed this match. Storm does get the win over Jamie Hayter, who I do think at some point in time she's kind of in a Wardlow situation with Britt Baker, but that's a storyline for way in the future. I do think she probably needs to get out of that shadow sooner than later, though, because Jamie Hayter is a very talented wrestler, and there's a lot of money to be made with her outside of the role that she's in now. But as far as Toni Storm is concerned, it's really cool. One thing I did think about recently, New Japan coming and joining up with AEW, I wonder if we're going to see Toni Storm somehow involved with her partner, Juice Robinson, who's a member of Bullet Club, and how's that going to work out with Britt Baker? And I don't know. There could be some interesting things going on there. The Jericho Appreciation Society, they, oh my goodness, they had an entire segment where they were having a celebration victory over burning Eddie Kingston and getting rid of Santana and Ortiz. And they were doing the whole sports entertainers thing and calling it the AEW Galaxy, which always cracks me up every time they say it, just again pointing out the absurdity of calling your fan base a galaxy or a universe. And they were going on and on and on about how they got rid of Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz. And then the music of Jon Moxley plays, and Moxley comes out. And we knew this is kind of where it's coming fast sooner than I thought it was. I thought they would wait till probably the rest of the summer to start this feud because they created these two factions at about the same time. The Jericho Appreciation Society is representative of sports entertainment, tongue-in-cheek. Meanwhile, Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club definitely say that they're pro wrestlers. So it is the pro wrestling versus sports entertainment feud between those two factions that we knew where it was coming to. Again, I didn't think it was going to happen as quickly, but Moxley comes out there. Jericho says it's still 5 against 1. We get Wheeler Yuta, Lord William, Steven Regal, whatever you want to call him, and of course Bryan Danielson coming out, and they're like, well, it's still 5 against 3 or 5 against 4 if you count Regal. But unbeknownst to the Jericho Appreciation Society, Kingston, Santana, and Ortiz were coming up behind them on the opposite side of the ring. So they were sandwiched between 8 dudes that were really pissed at them and liked to kick people's butts. The crowd appropriately chants, "You effed up," and the JAS did F up. And there was madness and chaos going on. This was a really cool fight spot in the ring, and it didn't overstay its welcome. Sometimes these fight spots do. This one did not. Kingston literally looks like he's trying to choke the life out of Jericho, and then we see somebody pull Jericho out of the ring, and I'm thinking it was one of the JAS people, but actually it's Steven Regal who pulls Jericho's arm and socks him right in the face, which was fantastic. Again, those guys had a rivalry in WWE. In fact, they wrestled at WrestleMania 17 as the opening match. One of the best WrestleManias of all time. So that's going to lead into next week, where apparently there's going to be a face-to-face one-on-one between Jericho and Regal, which that should be prime television watching there, with all of the rest of the JAS and the Blackpool Combat Club and so on and so forth. Now, I think the match you're going to get out of this, though, is going to wind up being a 5-on-5 match, because remember, Wheeler Yuta, he's going to be going over to New Japan pretty soon for the Best of the Super. In fact, I think next week for Best of the Super Juniors. So there's not going to be a Wheeler Yuta in this one. It's probably going to want to be a Moxley and Bryan Danielson with Santana, Ortiz, and Kingston against all 5 members of the Jericho Appreciation Society. And maybe William Regal gets his hand in there somewhere, somehow. But the big thing was the main event. Oh my God. Now, I knew this was going to be crazy, and we all know. Darby Allin against Jeff Hardy. How is this not going to be crazy? And then they announced halfway through the show that it's going to be no rules, no disqualifications, none of that stuff. So these guys were going to go balls to the wall, and Darby starts out from the jump, and they are flying all over the place. They are crashing through chairs, and they're crashing off ladders. Darby setting up 10 chairs outside the ring, and at one point, this giant ladder set up in the ring. Hardy's going up. He's going to do his swanton, but Darby reverses it, gets Hardy on the chairs outside the ring. Darby climbs up to the top of this ladder and does the Hardy swanton, which looked scary as hell because Darby bounced off of Jeff Hardy onto and through the chairs. I was scared that he died. But not to be outdone, Jeff Hardy decides later on in the match he's going to put Darby on the steel steps outside the ring. He's going to go to the top rope and do a swanton. He misses and hits the steps and then basically gets stood upright against the ring barricade. That was fantastic. And it tends to happen sometimes in these matches. With all this chaos going on, it actually winds up ending with a wrestling move, a reversal of a pin by Jeff Hardy. And shocker to me, Jeff Hardy beat Darby Allin. I did not think he was going to win. I thought Darby was going to win, but Jeff Hardy beats Darby Allin to advance in the Owen Hart Tournament. He will now be taking on Adam Cole Bay next week on Dynamite as they continue with the tournament. Overall, a really exciting episode of AEW Dynamite. I think they were making up because, again, the last half of Dynamite, I was there. I've heard the conjecture, and it was more exciting for me because I was there in person. But I've heard from a lot of people that the last half hour of Dynamite last week was one of the worst, one of the most boring ones. They didn't like it, whatever. I'm sure I don't think anybody's going to say that about this week's episode of Dynamite. It's definitely a fantastic episode, and they're hinting at a lot of things, including with the JungleBoy match against Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship, which JungleBoy put up a good fight, but because of Swerve Strickland, he lost that match, and there was this whole controversy of Keith Lee coming out, and now you got this kind of a three-way between Keith Lee and Swerve, whose feud with Hobbs and Ricky Starks is now bleeding into the tag team scene with the champions Luchasaurus and JungleBoy. And we also got a weird little Another hint that Christian Cage is eventually going to turn on Jungle Boy after the match, which I think was well done. Again, another tease coming forward. That's it. That's my review of AEW Dynamite. I want to know what you guys thought about it. Let your voice be heard in the comment box below. Until then, if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and the notification bell. And be sure to share this video on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you talk about All Elite Wrestling. I'll see you guys again pretty soon as we cover more news and rumors here on the Rantin Review Pro Wrestling. Have a good day.